Welcome back to Air Quality Matters. We already have the tools and knowledge we need to make a difference to the quality of the air we breathe in our built environment. The conversations we have and how we share what we know is the key to our success. I'm Simon Jones, and coming up, the third and final podcast from the Healthy Buildings Conference in India. And this is a conversation with Tanya Kaur Bedi, researcher, architect and environmental planner, an assistant professor at the School of Planning and Architecture in Bhopal. And this conversation was from the Healthy Buildings Conference live in Hyderabad. As is the way with these events, myself and Tanya met at the conference. So on a spur of the moment, let's sit down and have a kind of a chat affair. Here we are. Tanya explores the complex interplay between the built environment and indoor air quality, and she's contributed valuable insights for improving urban living conditions. And this conversation is, I think, another fascinating and fresh take on our built environment landscape from the region. Her work has been showcased at global conferences and spans journal publications and projects. Tanya's approach integrates architectural design, interiors and environmental planning, reflecting her vision for addressing urban challenges. A really interesting and wandering conversation that I hope you enjoy as much as I did. Don't forget to check out the sponsors in the show notes and at airqualitymatters.net. This is a conversation with Tanya Kaur Bedi. What I thought was really interesting when I was talking to you earlier was this, you said to me something, the inhalable diet. Explain that to me, because I've not heard that before. And I think there's the really nice take on air quality.
The inhalable diet. So I am Tanya and I'm from Bhopal. Basically, I have always been a health conscious person. My mom does yoga. She always keeps a track on what I'm eating, what's my protein intake, whether I'm on track or not. And I've also been interested in that. But at some point of time, you start thinking about the quality of other things as well. Yes, I'm trying to maintain my calories and everything, but what about the water? And especially what about the air? That's the least talked about thing. I strongly believe that we are trying to keep tracks of our food intake, which is our diet mostly, which is just 1,500 to 2,000 calories per day. But we are mostly breathing in 10 to 15,000 liters of air. As we talk right now, we are having an inhalable diet. As we are sleeping, we are tapping onto our inhalable diet, but that is least talked about and affecting our health undoubtedly. So that is how that idea occurred to me, and that needs to be researched upon.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? That we have this vision of the things that we consume, water and food, and we understand that choices that we make impact our health in different ways. I often think the interesting thing with air quality is that we don't have a choice not to breathe. Mm-hmm. So if we don't like the taste of water, we can choose not to drink until we get home and have our own water. But it doesn't work out very well for you if you decide not to breathe for a couple of hours until you get home. It doesn't go well. So we have to make choices in a different way, don't we? We have to say, well, I have to drink water now. What can I do? What are the choices I have to make sure that the water I'm drinking is as healthy as it can be? So it's kind of analogous to that, isn't it? Something that has to happen all the time.
Yeah, the illusion of choice. We all have that. But I feel we always have a choice to at least some extent, not all the way out, but yes, to some extent. Because if you're traveling to Delhi, please wear N95 mask. That will really help you. So you cannot maybe choose your diet, maybe filter out a little bit. And you can always have a choice about the pollutants that you are probably emitting without even knowing. Some people do not know about what they are consuming. If you have some activities like I had this experience in my hostel when I was a student. I was living with my roommate and I developed some kind of acne on my face, and I did not understand why it's happening. I tried to find out a lot of ways, but my roommate, she was using perfume which was not suiting me, and that was my inhalable diet. It was my daily morning routine. It was part of my breakfast, I would say, and I never knew that that is something that is troubling my health. But after some time of exploring and finding out that that is the root cause, when she switched her perfume, I came to know that, okay, this was something that was causing the problem. So we always have a choice to read the labels of our products. We read the labels of our milk products, dairy products, a lot of things, what grains we are consuming. Why not just turn around, try to have a look of maybe what perfumes, what candles we are using and how they are emitting. Maybe that control is possible for us.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. And you wonder, with things like food, we've developed languages and labels and ways of simplifying dietary information that the general population can understand. People have a sense of what a calorie is now, or a kilojoule. People understand carbohydrates and proteins and sugars. So they have this at a very basic level. They're not dietitians. They don't understand the difference necessarily between a soluble fat and a non-soluble one or whatever, but they can have some sense from a label of what they're getting with a product. With water, you are choosing often brands rather than labels of information on it. So you will have a preferred taste or a preferred bottle that you know is safe, or that you like its source or something. But we really don't have anything equivalent with air, do we? We don't have a language that people can, in a moment, understand, the risks.
Yeah. That is a huge challenge that we are currently facing, that we do not have any major regulations on the emissions part as well, and how they can be maybe a rating systems. A few countries, I feel that they have a health rating system in their products as well, because I think I came across this veneer boards. They use the adhesive that is used in wood veneers is based on formaldehyde that has a huge amount of emissions. So they have a rating system to control that, regulate that. Similar things can happen for many of the products. And these are I feel, mostly hidden aspects of many products, and very problematic to discuss as well. But in general, if I think that our senses also are very much developed to understand things. I'm not talking about the instinct, but as US EPA, it defines the sick building syndrome, is that when more than 20% of the people are feeling uncomfortable in a room, maybe because of the dampness, the air, how do they know they are in the sick building? They basically feel it. They feel uncomfortable. When you move out, you feel better. I mean, with product selection also, I would suggest that our senses are very much developed. If you feel uncomfortable with the smell, then probably, even if you don't feel, I mean, you might like some fragrance, I might not like some fragrance, and it might not be mentioned in the label as well. But in general, one suggestion that I apply to myself is anything with a strong smell, I avoid. Because it's 80% chances it had some strong PAs, which I cannot put into my room. I'm not comfortable with that. So anything with a strong smell can be avoided, because these are general guidelines that we are all aware of. Maybe I have become more aware of these things now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good, and I think that's a habit of the air quality community, is that I think we instinctively understand if things have got strong odours, it's usually indicative of something. And I'm the same, and we've changed our practices in our household, that actually quite often just basic soap and water is all you need to wash and clean and keep a home safe. You don't need fragrances and chemicals and limonene and terpenes and all these different chemicals to create smells of flowers and woods.
Yeah, right. That's true.
It's just nothing good comes out of a bottle that smells of flowers or lemons. Apart from maybe, but even essential oils, can react in the environment. Yeah. So if you can walk into a space and not sense anything is probably the safest space you can go into. Ironically, you know, when you come into a room and it's just benign, there's no smell, it's not uncomfortable, it's not cold, it doesn't feel stale, it's just a space.
That could be one of the indicators. We would require some good research on that to find out, yeah. Because I think indoor air quality and our sensory systems are very complex. It works on not just air, but indoor environmental quality. It will have thermal comfort, it will have lighting, it will have acoustics, it will have many things. How you are feeling that day also impacts your moods, and whether, you know, a small smell is going to affect my mood a little bit, and what is my hormonal cycle that time, especially for women. It's complex. But yeah, we can simplify that to some extent to have some guidelines to keep in mind.
And get people to trust their instincts. You know, when I teach people that work in buildings, I'm constantly reminding them to trust their instincts. Come into a space and be aware of where you are. Take a moment to breathe the air, smell it. Feel, are your eyes stinging? Is it uncomfortable? Does it give you an uneasy feeling? You know, we can pick up an awful lot. I'm not saying we're the perfect air quality sensor by any means.
But we are very good sensors.
Yeah, we can be, yeah. And certainly there are things, I think, over time, human beings have built an instinct to understand something's not right. So mold odours is something that we are very sensitive to. We can pick them up. You go into a room and there can be the smallest amount of mildew somewhere and you know immediately. So I think if people trusted themselves a little bit more, the challenge we have, and this is why I think it's an interesting conversation with you, you're an architect, and I think the interesting perspective from architects is the human-centered approach to buildings, that architects have a perspective, I think, that's slightly different to engineers, that you see spaces for the use and delight of people.
Yes.
And that, I think, aligns you much more with the habits, the culture, the agency, the way people use and see and feel spaces.
Yes.
And you were saying in India, it's very common for architects to straddle into interior design as well. So it's very common for those two things.
Yes, absolutely very common.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in India, we have this practice, these professions often overlap. That happens like for architects, they somehow deal with interior designers after a few years of experience. They also start doing interior design projects. Sometimes we, out of interest, we automatically start with interior design projects as well. So these things go hand in hand mostly. And interestingly, how this, from an architect's point of view, how this began as an interesting point of view for me was the real estate industry, because I have a lot of relatives in Delhi and in Punjab. So they have this decision making now, which is happening right now. In my previous generations, my mothers and my grandmothers and my father never talked about these things. But now my cousin, brother, and these people, they are trying to move cities because of the air pollution issues in Delhi. One of my friends, she had an infant baby and which has developed some pulmonary issues, and the doctor, they recommended, you please move out of Delhi. That is the best thing that I can tell you, regardless of any medication or anything. If you just switch the city, it is going to be largely beneficial to the health of your baby. So now that shift is happening. Even decision making, this is happening. I feel that this is going to happen in the future, that it is going to impact the real estate values as well. Right now, Delhi is the capital of India. Everything is happening in Delhi. Everyone wants to go to Delhi. It is full of opportunities. But once people are now understanding, realizing that they are going to be having disability adjusted life years, if not major air pollution related problems. So this architecturally, it is going to impact the city's real estate values in the future as well.
You get a sense that's really happening on the ground.
Yes,
people...
it has started happening. It has started happening already. But it is not like largely happening. Only few people, like awareness lacks, because people tend to take it lightly. we have a sense of that we have very good immune system and everything, and we can tackle all these things are not major issues. But as awareness rises, this is definitely going to happen in the future.
Yeah, and this inhalable diet, that you are, choosing to be in a space where your diet every day is not a good one. It's like choosing to live next door to a fast food place and saying that's my only diet. Yeah.
That choice of diet is actually also recommended, because I've come across few, we were talking about architecture and interior, how that goes hand in hand in India. So there are clients from middle income group to higher income group as well. So what my study, my research, I have observed this. My focus was to find out that what people breathe in most of the time. What is their inhalable diet most of the time? What are the women and the children and the elderly at home they are breathing most of the time? So my concentration was on middle income group. But I also had a chance to explore a few houses in higher income groups in Kolkata.
Before you go on, just for listeners from different parts of the world, in India, when you describe a middle-income group, what does that mean typically as an environment?
It means that your annual household income, like in totality, how many people are there, total they are earning from 12 lakh to 18 lakh rupees per annum. That is defined by the Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Yeah, above that is your higher income group, and below 12 lakhs is your lower income group, I would say.
So what kind of homes are middle income Indians living in?
So middle income groups are mostly, I would say, most of them are dependent on natural ventilation most of the time. They are average room sizes of 4 meter to 6 meter, I would say. And then, yes, we do have some middle income group also has level 1 and level 2. As you move towards level 2, you will find split air conditions installed in their homes. But in just few spaces, because affordability is something that is very imperative. And maybe they will be having air condition in one room only. And during the summer times, the family would sleep in that room, and we adjust our schedules to have the air conditioned space.
Yeah, and work with the environment and the conditions of the day. So that's interesting. So middle income households in India are typically working with the outdoor environment to control the indoor environments, so that they're not disassociating through air conditioning, thermal comfort, or as they might move up towards the upper end of the middle income groupings, you might start to see certain rooms or certain households having that air conditioning. Okay, interesting. So that's, I mean, we've started to talk about this as a lexicon, that the vast majority of our exposure to outdoor air occurs indoors, because it's just maths. We just spend so much time indoors that if Delhi air quality is very poor, unless you are fortunate enough to live in a upper income household, or work in a LinkedIn office or a big shiny headquartered office, the chances are the air you're breathing indoors is the air you're breathing outdoors largely.
Largely, yes. But there's a huge difference also, because when I studied indoor air quality, I focused on two aspects. One is the air that is around us, and one aspect of indoor air quality is also the settled dust. Because the major pollutant in India is particulate matter. We are dealing with high dose of PM 2.5. We are always in top 10 countries of the world. Somehow I wish we do not top that. And
it's not a medal you want, is it? No.
So that particulate matter is something that we deal with a lot, and that comes and it settles down. So it is not some chemical that is in the air. It is actually a particle which will settle and will recirculate in the air. So I tried to compare and chemically test the dust inside and outside, and it is completely different, absolutely different. You can know about a person from their, I don't know, I saw it in some web series that from a dustbin, you can know about some person, that what they are going through in their lives and their daily routines. From the dust itself also, you can know a lot about them. It mostly contains your pet dander. I can know which pet you have, whether you are using good plastic materials, because microplastics are one of the major pollutants now. And we have like a lot of poor quality plastic that we use in so many articles indoors you will find. And reuse of bottles, which will degrade with time. There's a lot of microplastic inside. But in outdoor, you will have more soot, more traffic related, more construction related dust. But indoors, it's very contrasting to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know people say approximately 50% of what's outside particulate matter can find its way inside. So it's not enough. But you then layer on top of that the indoor production of particles, the daily activities. And I suppose it depends largely then on your habits, and what you do will contribute to what that dust is. I know one of the challenges in India is in different regions, the ambient air quality can be driven by different things. Certain times of year, the weather will really hold pollutants. That's what Delhi struggles with. I know you have agricultural generated stubble burning type PM, but you also got industrial and pharmaceutical driven PM as well. So I guess it really depends where you are and what direction the wind's blowing, and
yes,
and so on.
Depends on that a lot. Yeah.
What I find interesting, and I think it's an interesting perspective to get from architects, is particularly in households and even in other parts of the world where you wouldn't necessarily class homes as middle or lower income, but still a large majority of households rely on natural ventilation for air quality, particularly in more benign climates. So the more benign the climate is, the more likely people are just to rely on window opening and so on.
It's comfortable outside, so yeah.
What I think is really interesting about that grouping of housing, because that's the vast majority of the building stock, is the existing buildings that are being controlled. It is kind of comes back full circle to your inhalable diet piece. It's this sense of agency, that the idea that for the vast majority of people, it's them that are in control ultimately of the air quality in their home, or can have or at the very least have a major impact on the quality of air in their home. While I have you, I just want to borrow your attention for a minute to tell you about Erico, a partner of this podcast. In fact, I worked for Erico for over 12 years, so I can speak with some authority here. With over 40 years of expertise, Erico has undoubtedly established itself as a market leader in DCV technology. That's demand-controlled ventilation. Their mechanical extract systems dynamically adjust airflow rates based on real-time needs. And their MVHR systems further enhance energy savings by recovering heat while delivering fresh, filtered air, both creating comfortable and sustainable environments. Their advanced solutions are tailored for residential, commercial, and educational settings, ensuring optimal indoor air quality and energy efficiency. As part of the Aldis Group and based in Paris, France, Erico continues to innovate and set benchmarks for the industry. Their solutions seamlessly integrate into buildings, providing intelligent, efficient, and reliable ventilation tailored to the unique demands of each space. With a global footprint, Erico, as part of the Aldis Group, are a powerful partner in securing good indoor environments and are well worth checking out. Links are in the show notes at airqualitymatters.net and, of course, at Erico, spelt aereco.co.uk. Now, back to the show. As an architect sector, do you think the architect sector has got to get better at creating spaces that engage with homeowners and users of spaces better, so that they understand, and it's more, what's the word I'm looking for, more natural to understand how to manage a space? Do you know what I mean? That I think we need to create a good example of that. Was in Ireland and England, where we live, we would have trickle ventilators. So these are little slots that go above the window in order for you to allow a certain amount of air in. but oftentimes they're behind curtains, they're out of reach for the elderly or the young. So we're not creating a tool to manage air quality in the space that's very usable, you know? So I think as architects and designers, and particularly interior designers, you know, there's no point having something that can allow air in if you've designed a room where you've got furniture in front of it and you can't reach it. You know, so I think by not recognizing the importance of ventilation, sometimes in architecture, we make it harder for people to get a good outcome because we haven't rated it highly enough. Whereas if the room was designed around it almost, people would, I think, naturally use it more.
Yeah, that is possible. Actually, natural ventilation is something that we cannot do without. Even if, I remember when I was traveling, I went to Nashville, US. And then I entered my hotel room and I was trying to open all the windows because the weather outside was really good and nobody there actually opens their windows. So the housekeeping was not very pleased with me that why are you disturbing our environment and everything. It was like, I'm just trying to save some energy for you. Let me do it. That is one behavioral aspect. But in terms of interior design, if I speak, interior design is something that is more personalized. How your client would like it, you have to take it that way. And it also deals with mostly higher income group or higher middle income group, which will be able to hire interior designers and design their interior spaces. But where the indoor air quality and design aspects come into play is, as I was speaking about the particulate matter settling on the surfaces. There are, I think, I read some research on furniture aspects. Like, of course, there are round surfaces at the corners. So if you make your furniture round from the corners, you have some free-flowing designs in the interior spaces that can also help improve your indoor air quality with respect to particulate matter particularly. Because they are more likely to, go on the surface and next morning it is going to be wiped off. It is not going to stay there and recirculate for a very long time. Another thing in interiors that can help is your lighting. We have rating systems for lighting, not for indoor air quality. But what happens with time is that a lot of dust, it starts settling inside of your luminaries. And with constant heat, because light, it is on most of the time and it is producing heat, it is also generating chemicals while heating up the particulate matter inside of those luminaries. That is one aspect to it. There are so many things that like what kind of fabrics, how much dust it holds, because dust is something that you just cannot do without in India. I mean, it is going to come from somewhere. Even most greatest buildings, they are using like air purifiers and everything have been installed in the HVAC systems and everything. But yes, interior design, there is a lot of scope of improvement through design as well.
Yeah, I've not heard of that before, actually designing surfaces and spaces to not collect dust or not put dust out of sight. You know, if you're creating high level shelving and things that, stuff's just going to be forgotten about.
You can't reach that for cleaning regularly.
And it'll have downlighters on it, heating it up. And you're just creating problems for yourself. And we spoke before about material selection as well, particularly as interior designers. Your potential to have impact on what people think is a good choice must be very powerful.
Yes, this brings me again to the diet part. That the more you eat is not always better. Okay, so if you have to limit yourself. So in interior designing, when I try to design spaces, I try to limit myself. I think about my clients' health as a primary objective, not just their needs and wants, but also they don't have that awareness, but I do. So if they want to put like layers of wallpapers and layers of false ceilings and a lot of levels, I try to make them understand that this is not something you would want in the long run. And the material selection part is also very crucial because many a times we do have little information about the product and its emissions, but not much. And with time, the temporal effect it is going to have in interior spaces, that also is not very largely discussed and known to us. So from the general understanding of the materials, from our own knowledge and expertise and experience, that material selection can be done. But from a user perspective, if I would say, it is very difficult to catch hold of how.
Yeah, but even if you know about this stuff, I mean, I think about air quality a lot, as you'd imagine. But I can walk around an IKEA or a furniture showroom, or we're looking at paint for one of the kids' bedroom. Now, paint, actually, to be fair, I think paint has been one of the products that has actually got its head around VOCs and off-gassing, which is great. I mean, we've seen a real improvement on that, and labels that would give you some real clues. But I can't honestly say with a hand on my heart the last time I was dragged kicking and screaming around IKEA by my wife, that when we were looking at a shelf for here and yet another box, something for one of my kids' rooms, that I was going, I wonder what that's made of. You forget, you get caught up in consumerism, in buying something nice and new. And it's very hard, even if you're in this space, to walk out of a shop and go, do you know what? I didn't even think about what this thing might be made of. And there's a really good example. I've got a formaldehyde sensor in my office where I work. And in my office is lots of furniture. There's a day bed, which we have for guests if they stay, and shelves and and a desk and all the usual paraphernalia of an office. And I have a level of formaldehyde in my office of 30 micrograms a meter cubed, which is not high, but it's there. And if I move that sensor to another room that doesn't have all that furniture, it goes away. So I've made choices in my space for practical reasons. I need a shelf here. I need a desk to work on there. And I'm introducing something I know is a carcinogen into my space. So it's a very tough battle we have with materials, isn't it? When somebody wants something, that someone's tolerance of risk,
yes, and
will
it's
influence
also about
the decision.
The choice. Yeah, it's also about the choice. What is available in the market?
Yeah.
If you need a table, you have these 4 options. What more can you get? Yeah, and most of them are pretty much similar, I would say. So 1-2 microgram per meter cube might not make much difference. When we customize spaces, that is when the actual design part comes into play.
Yeah. I think the challenge is for the people that don't necessarily have that social mobility or choice. So you talked earlier about people recognizing, or that family that were told that for their child's health, it would be better to be living somewhere other than Delhi. I imagine for a lot of the population, that's not a choice. You don't
absolutely not a choice.
And the same with material selection. As you said, there's a lot of cheap plastic, washing type for plastic and bags and all sorts of things, right? And the lower down the socioeconomic scale you go, the less choice you have over the product selection.
Less choice, I would say. There's almost no choice, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that you just cannot avoid, or they are the only available things in the market. For paints, for materials, we have abatement paints are available in the market, but we have veneers and others that are formaldehyde free, those small labels that can help. But that choice is only available to a certain strata of society. It is not for everyone, especially the middle income group cannot probably think of these aspects. They are not able to think about their, I would say, normal diet. Inhalable diet is something that is a little far off, I feel. But in behavioral aspects, that is something that they can look into. Everyone can look into.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part, isn't there? There's always something that can be done. And regulations, a bottom-up approach with regulations that remove the more toxic products from the market will be the only way that those materials disappear.
This actually I feel is a huge movement because there is this social media influencer in India, Food Farmer. He started with, I would say, a rebellion that all the food companies, they have to state what kind of sugars and many details about their food should be mentioned, which were not mentioned before. And he started with the movement, and many companies, huge, big companies have come down, and they have started to put labels, and they have started to be more responsible and more transparent towards what they are bringing to the table. From the bottom up approach, if there is more awareness, there are more people that want this and they are looking at the labels of what they are consuming in their inhalable diet, this can act as a movement. Like if 1.4 billion people, if 10% of it start looking at it from that point of view, there is a huge consumers that are going to be impacted and aware. Then things have to change.
Yeah,
eventually.
I know. And the challenge I feel there is with air quality is that so much of the risk is so far away, is such a long time away comparatively. You know, if I decide to not eat well for 4 weeks, I know it because my complexion will go poor, I'll put on weight, like you feel awful, you feel tired, like there are acute impacts of bad food choices all the way to food poisoning and, you know, really serious health complications. Similarly with water, you make some bad choices with the water you drink and you know about it pretty fast, right? Right. Or you choose not to drink water, but nothing but Coca-Cola. You'll know, like, you will know pretty quickly. The problem we have with air quality is a lot of those choices are choices that will impact you perhaps when you're 50 or 60 or older, or may even impact your children, you know, because it's impacting the birth weight of children or all sorts of complications, particularly in pregnancy, you know, with particulate matter. So we're disassociated with the choices that we make with the health implications. And there are things that have an acute impact. If you're asthmatic and you have the wrong fragrance in a home, you will react to it. But most of the things we're talking about here are things that are going to affect you
in 10, 20, 50
20,
years.
30
yeah,
years.
Or maybe
Yeah.
your children.
Yeah.
That happens. Actually, this is very personal to me. My father had Parkinson's disease and he passed away a few years back. And he was working in the agriculture department of MP state government. And he had this constant exposure towards a lot of pesticides, which was not proven to be something that could have been associated with that Parkinson disease. But in his 50s or late 50s or early 60s, I would say, that this also came to our mind, or one of the doctors I feel mentioned that maybe it has something to do with, you know, his environment where he works, because we did not have a family history. We were completely too surprised that how can this happen? He's a pretty healthy man and everything was perfectly fine. So how does things happen? It was not proven. There is no research, but it could have had a link. Yeah. And that is where I feel that our senses play a much role. If you do not have control over your environment, but you have control and some sense in your nose and ears and eyes, please make use of that. I feel that awareness and asking questions is something that will really help. If you are seeing your bread on your plate and it smells and looks weird, you will not take it. Probably you go some factory you're working. If you don't feel right, please ask questions about it. Know as much as you can so that you can have some preventive measures in place, or if choice be, look for some other opportunities.
And practically, when you've been helping your clients as an architect, but particularly on the interior design side of stuff, have you been able to check materials practically, or are there still very big gaps for the kind of things that clients and people want in their homes, and the information that even, because I know I've had people tell me this, that they've rung manufacturers up looking for material information on the products, and people are going, you want what? no idea who. I'm not sure who I even talk to.
Yeah, sometimes even they are not aware. How will they inform us? They don't know what they've made up.
Yeah, that's a real challenge, isn't it? Like, unless you're actually targeting kind of environmentally conscious natural building products that may have gone to the effort to demonstrate source materials, most other manufacturers, there's probably only a handful of people in the entire organization that even know what's, if this vase that's in front of us, for listeners that are listening, there's a vase with a plastic plant thing sticking out of it. If I was to ring the manufacturer of that plant up and go, can you give me, we're planning to use these in a hotel foyer, we're going to place them all over, can you give me the source material for those products? You'd be looked at as if you landed from another planet.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
yes, that is most likely to happen, and probably because you come from a different planet, they won't understand your language and reciprocate as well. Yeah, so and that is very likely to happen. I feel that is a huge challenge that we need to understand, and how to cater it. There must be some regulations and some accountability. That accountability part is missing in this industry, I feel, a lot. And the simplest solutions that we can have is using local materials, using known materials. So if I find a vase that is made of mud, I know that, it is made of bamboo, it is from India, it is from Northeast, and it is locally made. So I know what the material it is, and it is not going to do anything in short term or long term. So that is the simple choice to make.
I think that's a global problem. That there's a great image, in the country where I'm from, England, of a living room, someone's home in the 40s and 50s. Well, no, it was in the 70s. So it was when the decade that I was born in. And every single thing in that living room came from England. And there was no more than 12 materials in that entire space. Wood, varnish, leather, filling, which was wool, not foam, springs, Bakelite, old plastic, there was literally, there was only
you can count it on your fingers.
You could almost count on your fingers the amount of materials that were in a space, and you knew where they came. They all came from the region or the country. And there's a picture of that same living room in now. And not one product in that living room came from the country. Yeah. And there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products, materials and chemicals and things in that space. It's like a, as Joseph Allen calls it, a grand chemical experiment.
Yeah. I call it the chemical cocktail, the indoor chemical cocktail that we make.
And we honestly, we don't have any clue what impacts that's going to have. We've only been in that environment for the last 20 years, 30 years. So we've yet to reap the bad reward of that. So we just don't know.
And there is lack of research, because there is a lot of research in indoor air quality in office buildings, in institution buildings, because we equate indoor air quality with workability, with productivity, because the companies, they want to increase their productivity. If you go into an office and ask for an audit that, you can make some changes and the productivity of your employees goes up, that's a very good point to make. But if you talk about homes, why would anyone bother about your home or mine or anybody else's, that what you are breathing in, and how am I accountable or responsible for that? It's your personal space.
Yeah, it's your choice. You can choose to smoke in your home or not. You can choose to eat bad food or not in your home. That's your risk to take. What's the work you're doing now as you're assistant professor? That's right. Yeah. So what's your current kind of area of research and work and teaching?
My current area of research lies in the seasonal aspect of it. As we talk about the inhalable diet, it is very different in summers and winters. And winters, we are having tea and a lot of those things, kadhas we call in India. In winters, we have our nimbu pani and chas and lassi. And I feel that our inhalable diet also changes with the seasons. So what festivals are happening, how our habits change due to seasons. We close more windows. There are more insects happening in summer times, and they go away, hibernate in the winters. All of those things that impact your indoor inhale diet. I'm looking into the seasonal aspects of it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. And eating more salads in summer and eating more unhealthy food in winter. Yeah, it's that same kind of idea, isn't it? Do you focus predominantly on the residential sector then? Yeah, that's interesting because there's not a lot of data, is there, from homes?
Yeah, that is basically, I feel, my selfish take, because I know what I am breathing in, and then I'm interested in everyone's life. What are you taking in your diet? So yes, that is big. And also it has a huge research gap because of monitoring, because of permissions. Of course, you will not be allowing anyone into your home and measuring indoor air quality. It's your personal space and time. So that is a huge research gap I would want to fill.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the home is always interesting from that perspective, isn't it? But I think people forget how important it is. I in talks I give on air quality, we often talk about 90% of our time indoors. But one of the ways I've been reframing that recently is to say, if you live to 80 years of age, you'll spend close to 70 years of your life indoors, and 55 years of that will be in your own home. So our homes are fundamentally important to our long-term health and well-being, yet they're often the most poorly regulated, poorly understood, and a big black hole when it comes to data. Yes. Interestingly, where I'm from, that's changing quite rapidly in low-income housing and social housing because of the evolution of environmental sensors that are providing a tool for the landlords that own these properties to manage those properties more effectively. So these sensors can go into bedrooms and living rooms, and they will measure temperature and humidity and some other things. And they will tell the landlord remotely if the property is at risk of mold, if the property is making decisions about how they heat or cool their home that might mean they're in trouble, that financially they're not able to heat their home, for example. You can see if the property is energy efficient or not, so which homes you might need to treat first if you're going to improve them, and so on and so on. So there's all these valuable insights that for people that manage lots and lots of public housing, that data is actually very valuable. So now, actually, interestingly, we've got thousands and thousands of homes that have got environmental sensors in.
I'm very much interested. Do you have any regulation in place that mandates this? Or
no, not at all. No, and this is what's been fascinating, is that the decision to deploy these sensors has been purely on the business case. So if you're a social landlord, and I don't know, do you have social landlords in India? Are there organizations that manage large blocks of apartments and homes for people?
There are at some places, but not everywhere. It's not largely regulated.
There's some in the private rented sector as well. So there might be some analogies there, but basically these social landlords have a contractual responsibility to provide a healthy home. You know, they're providers of housing, and as such, there are some regulations that say homes should be fit for habitation. They should be fit to live in. And it's very loose. You know, it says it shouldn't be mouldy, and it should be safe, and there should be a smoke alarm, and very basic things. So they have an obligation to do it. But the proliferation of these sensors has purely been based on mostly the business case to say, actually, there's some value in understanding how these buildings are performing, and we can do our job better if we understand how your home is working. And we also had a couple of deaths of children as a direct result of the air quality in their homes, the exposure to mold and things like that. So there are some new laws that are making landlords have to take it more seriously. But I think it's fascinating because it's if you can't build that business case for people that manage homes, you've got to somehow convince somebody, as you say, to let you in to measure. And then if you're only in there for a short period of time, you're only getting a snapshot, a short picture of their entire life. So I think increasingly as these low-cost sensors are deployable in homes, hopefully we can get more data from them.
Yeah, that we do have some regulations in hotels like carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is like much more hazardous. It is mandatory. I mean, it's not going to take any time. Things like that are there, but not in privately owned residences that are not much.
Yeah, my feeling is that we've got to. It's going to be very difficult for people that are fighting other battles. Most families have many things to worry about every day. You know, it doesn't matter where you are on the social economic scale. Every family.
You have a lot to think about already.
A lot of worries. You know, it's whether it's your kids misbehaving or whether it's a bad relationship or whether it's not very nice work or you need more money. There's always something, right? And it's very difficult to get air quality high enough up the list for somebody to wake up in the morning and go, today I'm going to have good air quality in my home. Most people are getting up and going, oh God, I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. You know, air quality it doesn't come in. So we have to create habit.
Yes.
And a cultural change that it becomes, there are normative behaviors that you do instinctively that become the right thing to do without thinking. And I think that for me is the really interesting part, is how we, as an architect even, how you curate that, how you create that scenario. In Germany, they have something called Lüften. So it's a culture of every morning opening the windows for half an hour to let the house breathe. You know, that's a good example of a culture, a habit that becomes ingrained, it has its own name.
Yes, we do that as well in India. If we find time in the morning, it's usually very hectic and busy to do that. But yes.
Yeah.
Those practices are there.
And then remove the bad practices.
We have a lot of cleaning practices. Actually, we have, I feel every home has that OCD mom and who has to like make everything as shiny and clean. So we have our dusting and mopping and sweeping on a daily basis. We do not skip a day. If there's a 1 day skip, then it's a problem for everyone that how come today it did not happen.
Yeah.
So those
What's
expensive.
wrong?
Yeah. How can we speak? And that is, you don't have the time for it, but it's ingrained in your habit that, these things are clean on a daily basis. So that is something comes out of habit. And as I was talking about the inhalable diet, where it has to be a habit. When you're going to maybe buy a gift for someone, you pick up the candles and instinctively you know that maybe this is not a very good gift. I can look for something else except a scented candle. So those small things, those habits can have some change.
What are you teaching?
So basically, I teach BArch students. I did my environmental planning in my master's degree. It was environmental planning. Then I went for my PhD, and it was related to environmental architecture, planning, and interior, all aspects mix up. So I always end up making a khichdi of all of these things. And right now, I teach mostly BArch students and BEM, building engineering and management. Also, I'm trying to look into master students for that. I take architecture studios and interior design studios mostly.
It's another example of that straddling the two, the architecture and the practical of the architecture and the interior design. Yeah, interesting. And what's your kind of future research and study plans? Have you got areas that you're hoping to focus in?
I hope to focus on the solutions part mostly. Solutions part which are installable, because like we have some things like plants or something. So can we do something more than that? Bringing in the natural materials and how they can help. So that's the solution part is something that I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah. And how have you found the kind of the ISIAC and healthy buildings type network in India? Do you get chances to collaborate very often here and meet colleagues in the
in the
same
conference,
discipline.
yes, absolutely. That is one major aspect of this conference, because healthy building sector, we have architectural conferences, we have design conferences, but healthy buildings is something which only focuses on the indoor environmental quality, mostly inside the building, what is happening. So that is a very niche area. So everyone here is an expert on one aspect of it, I feel, and it is always brilliant to understand. And in India, especially, if it's huge, we have 5-6 climatic zones and a lot of differences. You move from north to south, the entire country changes, food changes, everything changes. So we have a lot to learn about ourselves only. So it is always great to connect with professors, researchers, and industries working in different sectors and how they are catering to this issue.
Yeah, and I was speaking to one of the architecture students yesterday. She was from Nepal, and she was saying that, you know, she's really keen to focus into leaning into the local environment, because where they are, the difference in altitude can be absolutely enormous, you know, every 50 kilometers. And so the architecture changes, and the challenge over the last few years as architecture has felt to a degree that it can separate itself from the environment. But actually, I think the interesting thing now is to think about leaning into the local environment and getting the most out of it, which is kind of what we used to do in construction. You know, construction evolved locally over time to work in the environment that it was in. It's only now we build these big old glass boxes that we think we're somehow immune from outside. And as you said, I can't remember what percentage you said were naturally ventilated buildings, but it's overwhelming.
Yes.
Proportion.
Yes, it's about like 60 to 70%. I can easily say that are dependent on natural ventilation to an extent.
Yeah. It's been really fascinating talking to you this afternoon. Thanks so much for taking time out of the conference. I know that this time is precious, particularly to speak to colleagues and have meetings and so on.
So thank you so much. I mean, it's a huge opportunity for me to reach out as well and talk about what matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks a million. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Before you go, can I ask a favour? Before you shoot off to whatever it is you have to do next, or even the next podcast, if you enjoyed what we've been talking about here, please do spread the word and let's keep building this community. And don't forget to check out our sponsors in the show notes. Ultra Protect, Eurovent, Erico, ACO, Farmwood and Zender, all amazing companies, and without them, this podcast would just simply not be possible. Check them out in the show notes at airqualitymatters.net, and do check out our YouTube channel. All this content is there, plus much more. See you again next week.